Yo, what up, Street Talks there, Kim. All right, some more turbo thoughts for y'all. So this one is about how to build your self-esteem. Why is my self-esteem so high and stuff like that. And so, first and foremost, I'm just lucky that I have a good mom. My mom was able to raise me with high self-esteem. Self-esteem essentially means to be a self-estimate of yourself, like how highly do you value yourself? Now, why is it that most people in society have low self-esteem? So low self-estimate. So to estimate yourself is kind of interesting because essentially you're weighing yourself. You're essentially dictating your own personal self-value. Now, self-esteem is interesting because it's kind of socializing us. Is that like some of us, based on the society in which you're raised, hugely dictates your self-esteem. Like for example, in most Asian Confucian societies, people are born to have bred to have very low self-esteem because the individual is actually not considered important at all. It's like the collective society is more important. There's even a saying in Chinese, I think it's like, the nail that sticks out the most has to be hammered in the hardest. So even inherently in these proverbs and phrases, it's anti-individualism and it's society is a structure and it's a machine to make individuals feel lesser about themselves. And I think I kind of figured out capitalism and consumerism too, is that like, essentially it's a mechanism which lowers our self-estimate and our self-esteem in ourselves, and the only way we could feel like we could increase our self-esteem or self-estimate in ourselves is to buy, consumer goods X, Y, and Z, right? But certainly that's not the case, right? So how does one actually build their self-esteem naturally without all these silly things? So first and foremost, I think self-esteem is certainly a mindset. So how does one build a mindset in which one has a high self-estimate of themselves? So I think it's kind of like rewiring your brain and allowing yourself to become some sort of moral monster, to become amoralistic and stuff like that. Because if you're born in America or from much Western cultures, effectively the culture, and I mean almost even all cultures, I haven't really found one that's quite satisfactory. Almost all cultures are designed and engineered kind of around Judeo-Christian morality, if not Confucian morality. There's no such thing as kind of like the ancient Greek cultures, which actually prided themselves in magnanimity, greatness of soul, and so forth. Now, what is the consequence? The consequence is nobody is allowed to feel prideful in themselves. To be prideful in oneself is to be vain, to be conceited, to be like an evil person, and you're not allowed to flex, because if you flex on other people, then you make other people feel bad about themselves, and therefore society is always trying to make you feel bad about everything. And kind of consider too is that like we're always made to feel kind of a lower self-estimate of ourselves because we're also comparing ourselves to others. So for example, as a male, we're always comparing our dick size or our muscle size or our bank account to other people. And social media is really bad about this too, because of course you're gonna lower your self-estimate of yourself if you're on social media, because if you're on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, most people quantify their self-estimate of themselves based on how many followers they got, which is from a scientific perspective seems to make sense, right? But just because you got 10 million, like a trillion followers, why should that increase your self-estimate of yourself? If it's like 10 million random people that you don't really care for, why does that increase your self-estimate of yourself? And so certainly what's more important or what's more robust is to have self-esteem in yourself that's actually dictated by you, and for you to be the ultimate judge of yourself, and for you to be the ultimate for you to have self-respect. Now what does that mean? That means to have your own code of ethics, to have your own code of morality, to have your own code of virtues. And as long as you have the courage to follow your own virtues, to not compromise, and not to be courageous, not to be a coward, then certainly you're going to be virtuous in your own eyes. And also, this is where I'm actually kind of useful, because I'm like a little bit of a psychopath in the sense that, like, I really don't care about other people's opinion of me. I only care so deeply about my own opinion of myself, because I rate myself so highly and I see myself as higher than most other people that I personally know. And therefore, as a consequence, what other people have to say about me, whether good or bad, I mean, like, if people have something good to say about me, of course I like it. I mean, who doesn't like that, right? But when people have something bad to say about me, of course I don't like that either, but it doesn't really change my self-esteem of myself. I'm just like, I just kind of get angry. So this is like the reason I don't read comments or trolls or stuff like that, is that it's not that because it fucks up my self-esteem, it's just because it makes me angry, and I don't like being angry, and I kind of like to remain my zen, stoic, calm zen zone. So that's the big thing. So also to increase my self-esteem of myself, I mean, I do think physiologically, to have a body that you love and you're proud of is actually very important too. There's actually a phrase called dysmorphia, which is like dis, like not, morphia, like morphology, like how you look. So even there's a lot of bodybuilders who's obviously like insanely buff who have dysmorphia, and obviously same thing with women, you know. How's it going, boss? So there's obviously a lot of people who kind of feel that way regardless. And I think once again, it's like a lot of bodybuilders. I mean, I think it's good to, like, as a bodybuilder or as an individual, to always strive to, you know, become stronger, to become more swole, to become more of yourself. And so I think my strategy is, you look at your body and you look at the way you look, and already you love the way you look, but it's a desire to level up, to get more. So for example, if I'm playing Diablo 2 and I'm level 60 and I'm a paladin with all these great weapons, I'm like, dude, my character is pretty awesome, but I want that more rare item. I want to get stronger and bigger. And so even with bodybuilding, or, you know, your self-esteem or the way you look, it's important to build muscle, to reduce body fat. And I would just say, like, basically, it seems like the base level I would suggest is try to get around, like, I don't know if I'm doing this correctly, but around 10% body fat, so you could at least, you know, see your abdominal muscles. Seems like it's the goal. So once I think you get to around like 10% body fat, then below that, I don't think it's really truly necessary in that regard. So try to get around 10% body fat. I think that's a practically good goal. And then also in terms of your muscle mass, whether you're a guy or girl, to, you know, to increase your muscle mass means, you know, do a bunch of body weight exercises, push-ups, squats. You know, if you could buy some dumbbells, that's cool. If you could do chin-ups, that's cool too. So certainly for us to remain, I think for women, actually the ideal body fat percentage around 20%. For men, around 10%, it's fine. And then so it seems like the goal for us guys is for us to keep our body weight at our body fat percentage around 10%, and then just keep augmenting our muscle mass. Now, how do we do that? I think I've discovered the secret, which is intermittent fasting throughout the day, not eating breakfast or lunch, and breaking your fast once the sun goes down. So that could be, you know, I mean, you know, depending on the day, sometimes I'll break my fast at 4 or 6 or 8 or 10 p.m. And when I break my fast, I'll eat just like a shitload of meat and, like, you know, sauerkraut or fermented foods, or, you know, some sort of bitter herbs and veggies. Essentially no starch. I don't do protein powders, supplements, and of course I don't take roids or nothing like that. And so I feel that, you know, a huge part of feeling a lot happier in life is to feel like you're kind of leveling up. Now, how do we kind of get the feeling that we're leveling up? We kind of get the feeling that we're leveling up based on whether we could see growth and change over time. So once again, seeing your muscles get bigger and stronger, and having a combination of both gratitude for your gains, but also desiring to have more. Now, this is why I would personally never enter, a bodybuilding contest or stuff like that. And even with powerlifting, I've had 0% interest in any powerlifting competitions because I'm like, why would I compete against other people? I'm like, I'm not competing against nobody. I'm just like competing against myself. I'm competing myself against myself last week. And this is how I was able to deadlift 455 pounds was every single week I just tried to increase my 1 rep max by 5 pounds, which is 2.5 pounds on each side. And sometimes I did it and sometimes I didn't. And whether I succeeded or failed wasn't that big of a deal because once again, I'm so vain and into myself that I could care less about what other people think about me, and I care so much about what I think about myself. So I think that is probably perhaps the secret of self-confidence or whatever, is to position yourself in a sense that you demetricate yourself, you don't look at your numbers, whatever, and you just kind of put yourself in a position where you only care for your own opinion of yourself. You only care for, you become amoralistic. You don't fake humble. You don't strive to be humble or talk down on yourself. To spend more time think about yourself, to not compete against others, to realize that's often, competition, some sort of sucker's game, and just kind of positing your own personal goals in life and stuff like that. And to know that self-esteem and whatever is insanely important, because if you don't have self-esteem, you're not going to have the courage to do anything, to brave, to take risks and stuff like that. So it does seem like the ultimate purpose of self-esteem is once you have a high self-estimate of yourself, then you think, oh, my opinions are worthy, my thoughts are worthy, my artwork is worthy, I am great, I'm a epic individual. And that line of thinking will allow you to produce more art, to be more brave, to take more risks, and do more epic shit.